Good afternoon, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology, and it's one of our regular in the hot seat. Thursday afternoon, new time. Well, not new time, actually, it's the old time. We are moving to a new time in the future. We're going to 2 o'clock, but we're still on the old time as of today. We're going to try a very minimalistic approach today. So my guest is actually using an iPad in a garage. So it's slightly different to usual with all the, the usual microphones and all the other pieces. So hopefully it's going to be okay. We did a little bit of testing and it seemed to be okay. But what I'll do is introduce you to Chris. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good, thanks, Lee. I'm good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I was saying that we're on minimal technology today, so it's a light in the garage and an iPad propped up, and I saw you moving things around to try and balance it and get the iPad in the right angle for the camera, weren't you, as well?
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. So we normally kick off with just a bit of background. So if you can give us an idea, where you grew up, your parents, what they did for a living, what you did as a kid, hobbies, interests and things, school, where you went to school, those kind of things, just to start us off.
Okay, but born in Birmingham, lived in Birmingham all of my life. Dad was
Which part?
In Sheldon.
Oh, Sheldon, yeah.
In Birmingham, right by the airport. Mum was a teacher, a head mistress of the local school. Secondary school, and Dad was an electrician for the Midlands Electricity Board, the MEB. So I went to Sheldon Heath Comprehensive. Comp Kid made good. 8 O levels, 3 A levels, and honours degree in biology.
Oh, that's good. Very good.
And then I was completely torn between teaching and joining the police force. So I was age 21. And I had a crossroads in my life very early, and chose the police force at age 21, and then did that for 30 years and retired when I was 51.
So that must have been an interesting career then. So did it change a lot from like when you started to 30 years later? Was it a very different place, from the beginning to the end?
Yeah, I absolutely loved the first sort of 25 years in the police, and I was proud to be a policeman, and it was a fantastic occupation. And then powers that be cut our budgets by 25-30%, and then our management still thought we could do exactly the same job, which obviously you can't. And so it was a bit frustrating the last 5 or 10 years, but overall absolutely loved my job. And in the police force, I actually turned into a teacher for quite a bit of time.
So what type of thing did you teach?
So I was teaching police officers. They call it a physical training instructor, a PTI. So I would teach them how to defend themselves and do kicks and punches and use the handcuffs correctly, use the baton correctly, use the CS spray correctly, etc., doing cell extractions and cell insertions. And it was quite nice to impart my knowledge onto other police officers and new.
So you're not someone I should argue with then, by the sound of things.
I am no martial arts expert, and my skills were very weak in that area. My skills, I always used to think with self-defense training, was trying to impart onto people about non-verbal communications and how important things are non-verbally. It's not somehow what you say, it's how you say it. And same policemen were always assaulted because partly because they were unlucky, and partly because perhaps their non-verbal communication skills and their listening skills weren't as good as they could be.
I'm going to say it's a lot about watching people and understanding, isn't it? I'm ex-military, and a lot of times we would be looking at the posture of people and things to understand what was going on, and it's not what they say, it's how their body language shows what they're about to do or what they've just done. You can actually judge it on that, isn't it? So quite different. But we're going to move on to a slightly different area, which I think the T-shirt gives it away with the is it Warrior 2 that looks like to me?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, well, I was doing it this morning, and what was it? The The one with that was
Reverse warrior.
peaceful warrior, is it? Peace something with
Humble warrior, peaceful warrior.
yeah, that's it. So, so this sounds scary, doesn't it? Two old men talking about yoga. I haven't got my yoga pants on today though, so So how did you get into yoga then?
Well, about 20 years ago, I was in my traffic car, a big swanky BMW in the middle of Erdington, and I stopped a motorist for speeding. Now, I always used to let speeding motorists off. I can say that now that I've left the police.
Yes, I'm going to say we might have to bleep that later, but it's live, so we just stuffed.
Yeah, and if they didn't have insurance and they didn't have a driving license, then they
dear.
But if somebody had been doing 35 in a 30 and they'd got a full driving license and got insurance and blah blah blah, then it always used to be a good telling off. And I just told this gentleman off, and I opened the car door, put one foot into the road, and my lower back just locked up, and I could not move.
Sounds painful.
Luckily, I had let the gentleman off, and he was lovely. He called for an ambulance for me, and I ended up at A&E at Good Hope for 3 hours in Sutton Coldfield with excruciating lower back pain. So if you can imagine getting cramp in your calf, in your lower back, it was
I've been there myself after playing golf once. Terrible.
Yeah. So went on the police medical scheme to see a back specialist, and he said to me, I could operate on you, it might work, it might not, but I would recommend that you do yoga. And he told me what to do, and I did exactly what he said to do, went back in 12 months' time to see him. And then he said, you're one of the only people that's ever done religiously what I've told them to do, which was gentle yoga, then build it up and build it up. And I managed to manage my back problem whilst being a yoga student and getting into yoga. So it was purely the physical aspect of yoga and the benefits of the physical aspect of yoga that brought me to yoga in the very first place. But then gradually over the years, yoga is good for your body, it's good for your mind, it's good for your soul. So gradually over the years, I've come to realise that it's a very holistic approach, and it's changed my life for the better.
Like I say, we'll just jump back to the back business. A lot of time people get back pain and things. It's actually because the muscles are too weak, isn't it, around the spine? Yeah. Because we're not using them, we're not exercising much, we're sitting a lot of the time, and we're not getting much. And then when we move in a certain position, because it's quite weak, it can't support, and that's when we have these slip discs because it's not been held in place well enough, or we get this spasm in a muscle. So that's tends to what causes that. I have a standing desk, you can see I'm moving around, I'm not on a chair, because it's better for my back, because I had a lot of problems with my back younger, and I've had a standing desk for about the last 8 to 10 years, I think it is, and that helps my back. But again, I started doing yoga a while ago. My phone's ringing, I do apologize, I thought I'd put it on silent. So and the reason I'd started doing it, I've only gone back into it recently, but I've started again because my back was playing up, and I think it's a really good thing. But like you say, there are other benefits, aren't there, especially about the mind and mindfulness side of it as well, which in the last 2 years it's very useful to have something that helps us focus and take ourselves away from the world around us at the moment. Yeah.
There's a great story that one of my yoga mentors, Gary Sherwin, he had a minor car accident, and they x-rayed him and said, you've got a hairline fracture, but there's nothing we can do. It'll naturally heal itself. You're in good shape as regards the road traffic collision. But the bulging disc in your spine will operate on you immediately. And he was like, no, you won't. I'm absolutely fine. And they looked at this scan and just couldn't believe that this person was still functioning normally. And they worked out that the muscles, the lattice muscles around his back was so strong, and his core was so strong that it was holding everything together. And that was the bingo moment for me to say, right, there's something in this, managing this yoga your back problems and getting your body in good shape. And that's helped me with my golf as well. So I played golf quite a high standard, got to 5, played subpar around championship golf courses. So that the back issues have helped me. Sorry, the yoga has helped me with my back issues.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's a very physical sport, really, golf, if you think about it, especially with the swing. There's a lot of energy goes into it and a lot of motion, and if you've not got a strong back, it's not going to be very good for you at all. So when did you transition from being a practitioner and doing yoga to actually then looking to, teach others yoga then? So how did that naturally happen?
And that always was in the back burner of when I leave the police, age 51, that I was going to be a yoga teacher, but obviously you couldn't really do 2 jobs at once. So I got myself qualified, and literally I retired in October 2017 from the police, and then started teaching yoga almost immediately. So hired a little hall in Sheldon for £10 an hour, and then shoved some leaflets through people's doors, hoping they'd come to my yoga, and bingo, they did. And then the business has just mushroomed unbelievably. I just can't believe how much it's grown. And now it's my full-time occupation as a yoga instructor, teaching at the normal David Lloyd, Bannatynes, Fitness First, etc., etc.
Oh, so you work your way around some of the different sites and work with groups from there. So are these people that have effectively coming to see you, or are these people that have booked a class at that place and you're just the instructor there?
So absolutely, David Lloyd, they would just book onto the class as normal, 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, and they wouldn't have a clue who the teacher would be. So you'd have your regular 7 till 8 Thursday night yoga at David Lloyd, and then Monday afternoons I do class at Bannatynes 12 till 1. Then I started branching out into teaching at schools, so I did induction days with teachers, and then I did 4 schools, and all 4 schools employed me full time immediately, doing classes every single week. And then I thought, well, why don't I teach the children as well, because I'm already here.
Oh, I might have got a challenge for you then, if you fancy it. How do you fancy doing a session for about 35 air cadets at some stage in the next few weeks?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm always trying to do something different for them, because I run the Solihull Squadron now. I'm always looking for something different, and having you and come in and get them all, in the sports kit and actually do some yoga, I think will be a really interesting one. I may not take part though, because I don't think the most appropriate thing is OC doing it in front of everybody else.
Yeah, I did actually. I was there's a place in Barrows Lane opposite Jules.
2030 Squadron. There on the TA centre.
Would you like me to come and do some yoga there? And they were like, "Oh no, we're not doing yoga." So
yeah, that'll be James Wakeman. I know James very well. He may not be very keen on yoga.
Yeah, but anyway, so I did try. But then I've got my diploma in adult yoga. Then I've got a diploma in children's yoga, and then I thought, well, I've done this course, I might as well do Pilates as well. So I got myself qualified in Pilates.
So that's the thing to say, because there is similarities between Pilates and yoga, aren't there? Yeah. So can you explain to everybody the differences between Pilates and yoga? If there's a simple way of defining the difference.
It's not a very good analogy, but it's like McDonald's and Burger King.
One's flame grilled and the other isn't.
Well, some people love McDonald's and hate Burger King, and some people love Burger King and don't like McDonald's, and it's the same with Pilates and yoga. What I like about yoga for me is, say, Warrior 2 on my t-shirt. That pose does both shoulders. It's twisting your neck, it's stretching the inside of one leg, it's strengthening up the thigh on the other leg, and then it's very symmetrical, it's very time efficient. Whereas sometimes with some of the Pilates, it's just doing one body part at a time.
Yeah, one muscle group each time, isn't it? Yeah.
And Pilates is amazing. Joseph Pilates was an incredible man, and his legacy is just to help millions of people around the world. I love
So
Pilates.
where was he from, then? Which country did it come from, Pilates?
He was a very, very interesting character. So he was, I think, and Pilates teachers, if you watch, I get this wrong, I'm sorry. I think he was living in London, and then he was German, and then the war came along, so it got a bit awkward for him, shall we say. So he ended up being put in a prisoner of war camp, and ended up teaching the prisoners of war these Pilates moves and movements.
So
and
it's quite a modern thing then, Pilates, then, really.
Yeah, and then eventually he went and set up a studio in New York and did Pilates in America, in New York, very successfully. Incredible man, fantastic story. So Pilates is relatively, my yoga's tens of thousands of years old.
Yeah.
But Pilates is relatively modern.
Yeah, well, it's quite new. It's extremely new in comparison, isn't it? From thousands of years to 70, 80 years ago. So massive difference.
And there's all different strands of yoga, hatha yoga, yin yoga, and ashtanga yoga, iyengar yoga, and I believe my personal.
I think there's goat yoga, isn't there, as well?
There's What I did on my course, when I did my course with BSY, I learned from the course a lot. But the way that I learned was I would just go to hundreds of different yoga teachers and teach and nick the best bit of each yoga teacher and then blend it all into my style. And then so this morning, 9:30, I did 20 total strangers at St Thomas's Church in Sheldon, a class. So I had to look at the students, assess where we should go with these 20 new people, brand new class. Everybody's welcome, completely free, paid for by the council, happy days. And then 11 o'clock, I did chair yoga for the sort of more senior years, 70, 80, even 90-year-old and the whole class is you just sit in a chair and do yoga. Still quite taxing, there's some advanced moves in there, but it's all chair based.
Yeah.
And so the demographic there is completely different to the demographic when I teach 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds in the school environment.
Yeah.
You
just got to consider the flexibility of the individuals, haven't you, because of their age and things like that.
But what I had a gold moment at a school yoga this week with a lad that's got various issues, and he used to run around the class like a whirling dervish. And then the teacher said, "Look, do we need to take him out?" And I said, "No." And it took me 12 months to get him to sit on the mat and do half an hour of yoga. And when he finished doing that half an hour, I looked at the teacher and we were both fighting back the tears because it was just one of those just magical moments in life. So, and that's the reward of being a yoga teacher. Brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when you get like a breakthrough with someone like that. It really is. Yeah, so it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's actually just using your muscles against one another in a lot of cases, or stretching, isn't it? That's what yoga is all about. But it's also that thinking about it and breathing and all the other pieces involved in it too. So it's really, really good. And like I say, you can be from children all the way to people that can't even walk. They're wheelchair bound or something. You can still do it and still keep fit to a certain level with it, can't you? So how are you promoting what you do at the moment? We've got your website on there at the moment. So can people actually go onto your website and book classes? Is it all the places that you're working and things?
I try not to have a booking procedure because I think that a booking procedure for a 60, 70-year-old is a block to come into classes. So I say there's no need to book, just turn up. The halls that I book, say tonight I'm doing a class in Sheldon at St Giles Church, 6 till 7. So there's no need to book, but the hall is huge. So when people come in, they can always find enough space to do the yoga. I mean, at the moment, it's averaging about 20 students per class. And then at the same time, I put the camera up on my phone and I'll Zoom it live as well. So I've got 20 people live in front of me, plus about 10 on Zoom.
Okay, yeah. And so on the website, does it say where you're going to be on what nights and what times?
Yeah, all the information's on the yogawithchris.net. All the information's on there. And there's a bit of stuff about a really famous physiotherapist called Sarah Key. And when they say to me about, I've got this problem, I've got that problem, shoulder, neck, elbow, I always refer them to the Sarah Key books and tell them to become their own expert at their shoulder problem or their back problem or their calf problem or knee problem. Those books by that woman are just incredible. And I reread them literally every year as my continual professional development, just to keep myself up to speed. So Sarah Key, absolutely.
Sarah Key. So everybody remember Sarah Key. Have a read at those books, especially if you've got some kind of ailment like a knee or a shoulder or a back problem. Sounds like the thing too.
Back in Action, the Back Sufferer's Bible, 10 minutes a day, better back, and keeping your joints young. Those are just 4 of her amazing books. Fantastic.
Yeah. I can say as we get older, it does become a challenge, doesn't it? Mobility and trying to solve having muscle and joint pain. So having something like low impact type activity like yoga is so much better for it, because it's a gradual process, like the situation you had with your own back, back those years ago. You can actually get yourself back into action and maintain it going forward. But I think one of the other things I find with it is you feel quite relaxed afterwards, and it's a really good start to the day. I tend to do it between 6 and 6:30 in the morning, and then what I'll do is go and have a shower, then I take the dog for a walk, and I feel quite invigorated after that, bit of fresh air and everything, and then on to start my day. I'm normally falling asleep by 10 o'clock. That's the only trouble.
On YouTube, is it? Or
say again, sorry?
Which class do you access on YouTube?
I use an iPad-based one. It used to be called Down Dog, but I think they changed the name to Yoga now. But it's a really good, because it puts a flow together for you. Because that's one thing I was going to say before. If you talk about Pilates and some of the others, it's a specific activity in one part of your body. But yoga is all about the flow, isn't it? It's moving from one activity to the other, and to make sure you actually exercise in multiple areas rather than just focusing on one particular space.
I mean, that's for Pilates. That was obviously a massive oversimplification of Pilates. But my thing with yoga is that when I go to like a real fast flowing, really fast Ashtanga class, I kind of look around and think, well, quite a lot of this class are not doing the poses correctly.
Yeah.
So I tend to just slow everything down a little bit, try and move around the class and correct people in their postures so that it's very safe.
My favorite posture is Savasana. Is it Savasana? Where you lay on you lay on your back with your hands out on your feet and you don't do anything. I think that's one of the best ones. It's really relaxing for the last couple of minutes at the end. So I really love that one.
So the key with Savasana is because of the half an hour or 20 minutes or an hour or 2 hours yoga you've done before Savasana.
I've never done 2 hours. I think I've never gone beyond 30 minutes, if that.
Yeah. As you do your yoga, again, massive oversimplification, your body releases happy chemicals, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphin. Those chemicals flood around your body and they make you feel good. Now, obviously, adrenaline and cortisol are the opposite. They're the stress hormones, which when a saber-toothed tiger 10,000 years ago is trying to eat you, then you need cortisol and adrenaline.
Yeah, to run.
To run away, fight or flight. Yeah. In this modern society, the stress causes adrenaline and cortisol to be dumped in your body, and you're sitting at a desk like a dealer in the stock exchange, completely static, dump of adrenaline and cortisol, and that's bad for your body. It just sits there. There's nowhere to go, and that's where exercise comes in to make you
there's
feel
nothing
good.
to wash it through your system and get rid of it, is it? Because you're not moving.
Perfectly put. I couldn't have put it. I was searching for the words, but you said it more eloquently than me. Yeah, it's almost like it's flushing out your system, like drinking a glass of water when you've had a massage. It flushes everything.
And that's another thing that's quite important when you're doing yoga, is drinking water afterwards, because you do get quite dehydrated from it as well. I find as well. I need a good, a couple of glasses of water afterwards, and I tend to have one before I start as well, because you are using quite a lot of energy while you're actually going through the process.
Depending on what kind of yoga you're doing. So say yin yoga, YIN, they hold the poses for minutes on end in one particular pose, perhaps even 5 minutes in one pose. And then, as I say, Ashtanga yoga, a lot faster. Then Iyengar yoga is very particular, using blocks and props and.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've never done anything with the blocks and things like that, but I've seen it.
Yeah, and the Iyengar teacher is another level of qualification and knowledge to what I have, but Iyengar is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely.
So what's your favourite pose then?
Warrior 2 is my favourite.
Warrior 2, because it's balanced and everything you were saying before. And what's the one that gives you the most challenge?
Touching my toes, because I have more than average lower degeneration of my lower vertebrae. My touching my toes is very, very weak. But I do my best, and then you can modify some poses, so you can stretch your hamstrings by lying on your back and then lifting your legs up in double leg lift. So that's
because like waterfall's quite a challenge at times, isn't it? Where you lay on your back with your feet straight up, and you can actually just put your legs against the wall, can't you? If you want
legs
to.
on the wall, everyone should do every day for a few minutes.
To stop. And it stops them falling down and things. But there are things I just can't physically get to. So if it comes to something that there's no way I'm going to be able to do, I'll just move on. It's like camel pose is a challenge for me, because I just cannot get into that position. We've been a little bit older and everything. It's just, and I'm not quite flexible enough to get there. So there's going to be people watching this thinking, what the hell are these two talking about?
Well, I mean, camel's just leaning back and touching your heels behind you, so pushing the hips forwards. But I give people sometimes 10, even 15 real time different options in a pose. So I'll say, right, stage 1 is just lift up your foot an inch. Stage 2 is lift up your foot a little bit. Stage 3 is lift up your foot till your right foot's by your left knee, or even high up on the inside of the left leg. Then I'll look at somebody's arms. Then I'll drop into eagle arms. So it's layering on. So your 21-year-old that's done gymnastics can go right to the end of the poses. My mum, who's nearly 90, she just lifts her foot up, and then she can't lift up one arm. She just lifts up her other arm. So but in real time,
just do it in stages, depending on what you're capable of doing. Yeah, it's like when I first did like child pose, when you're like laying flat on the floor and your head on the ground. It seems a bit strange, but actually it's quite comforting and quite relaxing when you get used to it, isn't it? So each one of them's got something different about them, and no one can see Rachel in the background. She's thinking, what are these people talking about? And looking across at us strangely.
What I try and do with the children now, and it's really working well, is I get them to. So I've got me and 30 children and a teacher in a room. So I'll get the children out to the front, put a mat by my mat, and say, would you like to demonstrate a pose? And they just make the poses up. And an 8-year-old mission is incredible. So I say, make sure, wait till Mr. Yoga, I call myself Mr. Yoga in the children's classes, wait till Mr. Yoga's assess the pose to make sure it's safe. Oh, yes, it is, right. Everybody do that pose. So that's the way that the children can come out and make the class much more interactive, rather than me just standing there demonstrating. And so hopefully I'll inspire a few yoga teachers.
You never know. So, is there anything else you'd like to tell? Because I think we're coming to a natural end in the conversation about this. Anything you want to tell people about what you do? You know, and so we've mentioned about the website. Go on there, have a look where you're going to be, what time you're going to be there. Turn up. A lot of the places have got quite large rooms, so should be plenty of space for people to get in if they want to come along. What's the average cost normally?
So I charge £5 for the classes. At the moment, the ones
That's very, very good value, isn't it? Very good value. There's not many things you can do for a fiver these days. Yeah.
No.
So you could do, what was it, some like 5 classes for the cost of a ticket to the cinema these days with a popcorn and a drink. So I think it's actually much better for you doing yoga than going to the cinema and having popcorn and a drink as well.
And if people want to are worried that they won't be able to do the poses, or there's no ego in my yoga classes. There's everybody. It's very supportive, very welcoming atmosphere. If you want to have a little practice first, then there's loads of videos on YouTube. Yoga with Chris on my YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, definitely. All check in. Have we got Chris's YouTube channel on the banners? No, we haven't. So have a quick look for Yoga with Chris on YouTube. You should be able to find it on there. Like I say, watch some of those videos, subscribe to them. That'll help you. I'm going to have check that out and compare it to my yoga app and see which works better for me.
Yeah. And you get to see my garden as well, and my cringingly bad voice on YouTube.
Oh, you tend to do it in the garden, do you?
Yeah, I've done 3 classes in the garden, class 1, 2, and 3, and then a few in the lounge. So,
okay. Not in the garage like we are today.
No. I'm in the garage, but we're having a new bathroom fitted, so it's
yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a night. We've had stuff done, and it's a nightmare trying to find somewhere to have a bit of peace, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
So what we didn't get a chance to do because we were trying to sort out, getting your iPad working, all these other things before we started. We normally prime you because we normally ask 2 questions at the end. So one of those questions is, what's the best meal you've ever had? Where did you have it? And why was it the best meal you had? And what was it as well? What was the meal?
Banff in Canada, having a steak after I've just snowboarded on fresh powder all day.
Oh, that sounds really good. Do you know, steak seems to be one of the most popular ones we get at the moment. I think we've had it. Every other one's been steak so far.
Yeah, but this food, the beef over there is different to over here. And Banff, if you ever get a chance, anybody, just go.
I've seen pictures. I've been to Snoqualmie, which gets lots of snow above Seattle, between Seattle and going to the Canadian border, and they do a lot of snow stuff up there. And there's the Atlas Mountains as well. But I've not been to Banff. But going to Vancouver is a wonderful place as well. Absolutely beautiful up there. So the other thing is, most adventurous thing you've ever done. It sounds like one of them could be snowboarding, but what other things have you done? What do you think is the most adventurous thing you've done?
The most adventurous thing I've ever done is go heli boarding in Whistler.
So that's when they drop you out of a helicopter on a mountain, isn't it?
We went into the shop, 4 of us, just to have a look and laugh at the prices. And the guy said, we've just had 4 cancellations. Tomorrow it's going to be bright blue sky. And we've got 4 places on the helicopter if you want them. Normally it's a 3-month waiting list. So we walked out of the shop, and then the next morning at 8 o'clock, we were in a helicopter flying across the Rockies and being dropped into the middle of nowhere.
And then you snowboard your way back, don't you?
And then we just snowboarded all day on every single turn, a fresh powder splash. So
yeah. How far did you have to come back then? Or did they come and pick you up as well, or do you have to make your way back?
Yeah, you make your way down to the bottom of the mountain, but you're still in the middle of nowhere. It's like a 20-minute.
So they'll pick you up then at the bottom.
So the helicopter picks you up at the bottom, and then the other one is very similar, and a lot of ski devotees all know this one, the Valley Blanche. So the first 200 meters is you go down a ledge 2 meters wide with certain depth either side. So you rope each other up and then just go down the Valley Blanche, and then that's 21 kilometers of off-piste.
That's a long way, isn't it? That's a long way. So, no, much more adventurous than anything I've done, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And the scariest
But,
thing I've ever faced, Alan Donald at Edgbaston. I opened the batting for Aston Unity, and Alan Donald, in his prime, was just come over to England as an 18-year-old, and he was trying to knock my head off for 2 hours. So that was the most frightening thing I've ever done.
I can't believe it. But it's been great to get to know you and learn about what you're doing at the moment, and where it all started in the past as well in Sheldon. So, well, thanks ever so for joining us. Make sure you all check out Chris's website. Go and have a look for some times and dates. Go along and have a real high quality but low cost lesson at £5. I think that's unbelievable charge. So really good. So everybody go and do that. And very, very good value for money. I agree, definitely. But again, I'll throw in, it is very good. It's a bit strange from a men's perspective. You would think it's all girly thing. That's what women do, yoga. But actually, it's a very physical thing, and it actually makes you feel a lot better when you've been, after a week or two of doing it, you feel so much better in yourself. So definitely something worth to do, especially if you've got some kind of long-going back or other problem that's muscle related, that you could actually tighten up and strengthen the muscles. It's going to be really good for you. But again, you've just got to make sure you don't damage yourself as well. So if you have got a particular injury, just make sure with your doctor that it's okay. So I'm not telling you that it's going to fix you. You've just got to make sure it's something that you can do yoga on. It's going to improve things.
The Manchester United football team, when they started doing regular yoga, they realised that the players recovered from injury much quicker.
Yeah.
So if you
get I could believe that as well. Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks ever so much for joining us, Chris. If you can stay on afterwards, because we always get a wash up afterwards and see how things have gone. But anybody wants to know more, on the Facebook page, when it's going out, just ask questions. I'll put you in touch with Chris. Also LinkedIn, if you're watching it from LinkedIn, on there. Also YouTube, so we've got it on a YouTube recording, or it's live at the moment. I'll be recording a bit while. I'll send you that over, Chris, so you can add that to your collection. Put the link against yours, and hopefully you're going to get some more people coming and joining and getting the benefits of yoga from you.
Good man. Thank you.
Thanks ever so much. And hopefully see everyone. Remember, nothing on Tuesday next week. I'm on a course. Thursday next week, we've got the Craft Butcher. We've got Chris joining us from Craft Butchers in Withall, telling us all about his journey to actually being his own boss and running his own butchers. He's only been doing it a year, but he's very good. He's very modern in his approach. Does a lot of social media pieces, but he's doing some really interesting things. And we'll get Chris Lacey to tell you all about Chris Lacey's Craft Butchers next Thursday. And hopefully see you all soon. Bye.